Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me in this number. Let's start with who went to the keynote and who overslept. Okay. Today we're going to speak about data and turning that data into decisions. But first, I want to go back to a very important topic that Mike spoke about in his presentation, which was the adoption of AI and how we use it today, and where exactly do we stand with it. It turns out nobody knows. We'll see how the future goes, but you came here for data. Why am I speaking about AI? Actually, AI and my presentation have the one thing in common which they are based on, and that is data. It seems like it was not too long ago, before we started using those two-letter words everywhere. Everybody was speaking about data. Everybody was telling us we need more data, data. And then it became big data. Then we had small data. Then we were in the need to clean that data. And we ended up cleaning all of that messy data to now utilize it into AI data. I promise this will be the last time you heard this AI topic. So, you have your data, but what do you do with it? When was the last time the data helped you make a decision for you? That's what we're here to uncover, and to build dashboards to make the decisions for you, so you don't have to look at this mess or unclean data as you know. I'm Djoko, and I work with organizations to build and extract their business value from their data, to turn their insights into actions. Today, we're going to cover this and help provide answers to these questions. First, why do the dashboards even matter? So we'll kick it off from there. Then, we're going to have a look into what are the suite of tools that Microsoft offers today in order to build set reports and dashboards to help you in your way of working, and your clients, stakeholders, whoever you're here to represent. Later on, we're going to see how do you connect actually to that data, and for today's demo, we'll be using Dataverse. Once you have connected to your data source, you still need to do some preparation of that data in most scenarios. If you're lucky enough to have that clean of data to build reports on their own, good luck, and I'm jealous. But in all other examples that I can think of, and all the examples that I have been tasked to do it, I still had to prepare the data myself using Power Query. We'll also touch briefly on how is it possible and how you can use the modeling and aggregation into Power BI to help you with some measures. And then we'll switch on the topic which some consider to be the most important. I'm not exactly sure whether there is such thing as the most important, but it will be how do you design the reports to then publish your reports to, as I said, your clients, your stakeholders, for yourself, or for anybody else that will be interested into and likes to have those displayed. Towards the end of the session, we'll finish with a Q&A session. First, why do dashboards matter? As I said, we're here to turn your insights and your raw data and to help you make the decision for yourself. We're going to look at 3 examples that I have extracted here. First, sales. A sales representative notices a pattern which shows them that their targets are decreasing. What do? They assemble the team and focus to get and win the clients back. Or if you work in finance, you will see that at certain point through your history you have a recurring pattern of expenses being increased. What does the finance manager do? They renegotiate the contracts and correct that. Or if you are representing somebody from operations, you may notice a machine is causing you delays because of a bottleneck that it is experiencing. That tells the that tells the service technicians and the field service managers that they need to do a maintenance of and remove that bottleneck. How do we actually build those reports and data, and what are the tools that Microsoft offers? We're using Power BI, of course, but what is Power BI? Well, Power BI is a tool concluded of two applications. One is the Power BI desktop, and the other one is Power BI service. Power BI desktop is where you build your model and you design your reports. Well, service is where you publish them, you embed them, integrate them, and you share them with your stakeholders. But of course, Microsoft likes to always keep things moving, and they introduced Fabric. That's the new kid on the block. What does Fabric actually represent, and why do you need it? Fabric is used when there is a need to govern and to model the data on a much scalar level, when models need to be reused and they need to be reused and governed to share with other colleagues, not just for yourself. With desktop service, which what we are going to look on today, you're quick and you're able to do it for yourself, even with your own data that you have at home, something that you're tracking on the side, not even professionally related. How do you connect to a data source? As I mentioned, today's example will be looking into connecting to data source with the data that we have tracked to SLinker. SLinker represents the go-to tool for your sales department to unburden them from some of their recurring and patterns that they have with bottlenecks around their day of working. Why Dataverse, you may ask? Because it's simple, it's structured, it works with consistent IDs, and it integrates very easily with Power BI for manual and scheduled refreshes, and also to keep up-to-date information always on display. Let's take a look and go over this video. So this is the first screen that you see when you open Power BI dashboard, the desktop. It always prompts you to choose the source of data where you want to come. You can see Power BI natively supports many different connectors already to connect to. In here, I have chosen Dataverse, and now I'm choosing to which organization I want to connect. Once I have chosen my organization, I'm going over the tables that I want to work with and that I will be needing in order to build my report and dashboards. For this purpose, I have done contacts, accounts, lead, and opportunity. And now, once I have made my selection, I'm loading that data into the Power BI model. In here, I'm selecting direct query instead of import, for the sole reason that I want my reports to be always up to date with near real-time data. So if I had chosen an import, I would have either manually refresh the data or I have to schedule refresh cycles. As you can see now, I have all the tables imported and I can start working on them and model them. Now, I don't know for you in the crowds how experienced you are and how much insights you have, but it's worth mentioning that I did a crucial mistake there. I chose the whole complete data table with every single field that we have into the database. That's the very bad practice, and this is where the preparation of data comes, before you ingest it into Power BI in order to work with it. You do that by Power Query, and you start with removing columns. You remove all the columns that you know that you won't be needing in order to build your report. That narrows down your dataset to much smaller chunks which can mean fast and reliable dashboards and reports when they are finished. Then you filter out what we call noise. Again, you removed your columns, okay, but inside of the data that is still left in those columns, you may have data that you are once again not needing in order to work and build your report, such as certain deactivated records maybe, or certain records that are in statuses that you are not building the report with, something that is proprietary or should be at all hidden, and so on. And last, you need to rename and correct the data types. Values, numbers without labels, they are meaningless. You could be looking at them, but they don't mean anything. So is the time frames. You need to set specific names in order when you're building the report, afterwards you know what you're actually looking at. How do you do that? You have a transform data button on the top of the ribbon page, and then it shows you the Power Query window. In here, you can see the 4 or 5 tables that I originally imported. Now, I'm in the process of first choosing my columns. As you can see, I have plenty and many columns that I won't be needing. Right now, I'm showing you that I've actually ended up with 5 or 6 columns for this demo purpose that I know for sure we'll need in order to build the reports and the measures that come with it. Additionally, I'm filtering the rows or the noise. I'm only keeping accounts that are active. I'm not interested to work, or I don't need the inactive accounts in order for the KPIs that I want to show. And finally, on the customer type code, in the database, it comes as a prospect value, but prospect doesn't actually mean or is meaning, it has the same meaning for the stakeholder that is looking. So they prefer to be seeing it as a potential customer. I can change that here on this level without actually changing the master database and the data inside of it. Once I'm done with that, all I have to do is click on Close and Apply. Power BI does its own thing. They refresh the whole model, they re-sync the schemas, and now I'm left with only the 5 columns that I have chosen, with only the data that I have chosen on a filter level. Additionally, and after the preparation of data, what comes is to model your data. In order to do that, you have 2 possibilities: relationships and aggregates. Relationships help you model your data in a ways that they are not actually possible to do, or they don't come from your database itself. You could build and activate or deactivate relationships just for the Power BI report and dashboard that you are building. You may see a pattern or a possibility which is not natively supported with relationships as we know them in databases, but here it supports. And on top of that, you have aggregates. My Power BI comes with a suite of aggregates that are supported natively, and for a beginner purpose, they are usually good enough to utilize them. Advanced calculations and measures are supported with a language called DAX, but it's not in the scope of today's presentation. My point is, if you're seeing something and if the numbers are not looking right, come back and check in your Power Query, in your relationship, and in your aggregates whether you're doing it right. That's where usually the beginner mistakes and errors happen. Okay, so now you have you're connected to your data source, you have your data ingested into Power BI, you modeled it, you aggregated it to some degree as you know you will need. It comes, as I said, the main part, which is designing. Just like in web development and in websites, there is something called UI UX. Most of the principles for there apply also here to a certain extent. We'll go over some of the 6 steps and some of the common practices that I use that you can also put into an effect when building your own immediately after this session. You start off with most important top left. What do I want to reference here? It's important that you keep your stakeholder or whoever is looking at the dashboard interested and engaged from the very beginning. Their eyes first land on the top left side of the dashboard. You need to place the KPI, the metric or the card visual on the top left in order to keep them attached. Once you have their attention, then comes the next. One question, one visual. What do I want to say here? Your visuals, your KPIs and your charts should answer one question. If you're looking at the chart and you cannot figure out what is the actual question or why do you need that chart, it means that that chart is not doing its job. Prioritize KPIs. The KPIs that should be with most meaning, they should be larger and clearer. They should be positioned somewhere adaptively on the dashboard and send a clear message to whoever is looking at that report. Color consistency. One color, same meaning. This is very important. How you use colors throughout your dashboards and throughout even a single report, it's very key. Let's take red for example. If red means that something is below target or is not meeting demands, it should mean the same across all your reports. You cannot switch it on the fly or on the page by page. Why? Because when the person who is looking at that report and wants to get the feedback, they don't need to stop and think about what is actually there. They see red, they know immediately something is not good. Don't cluster your reports. I've seen good examples, I've seen bad examples. I've fixed some of the bad examples, but sometimes I'm with clients and with stakeholders that they are used to on the reports, how they are, and they don't want to change. They have tables there, they have advanced filters, they have so much going on that it's very hard to navigate those dashboards. And they're okay, they're in the right to do that. It was somebody else's job who designed it in the first place to fix this for you and to apply this. You need to keep 5 to 7 visuals on a page. Less is more, guide the eye. Instead of, as I said, having all those clusters, dashboards and reports where your eyes don't know what to see first, keep them precise, keep them concise, and when the person who is responsible to get the information from it, they can work with them easily. Everything that doesn't need to be on that page, it can go on the next one. And as last thing, give context and freshness. Just like we had in Power Query, where you were able to change, and what I showed here, prospect into potential customer, you can also apply the same principles here on the report design level stage. You need to give context and freshness. You need to label the units, the time frames, and how relevant is your data. When was the last refresh cycle that it happened? If you applied all of the steps from above and everything that I said before, your report should be looking something like this. As you can see, this is much cleaner to the eye, and it was a client's preference to use that, to keep it on brand with the colors, but you get the point. What I'm showing here is that top left, I have the most important KPIs that the stakeholder needed. Stakeholder is my CEO, who is also part of your of the audience today. And I know that he's most interested into that. Then come the measures and the charts about how did we get to those numbers. And whether somebody is overperforming, underperforming, and similar. Additional to that, you can, the keen eyes between you have spotted already that I have on the last two columns on the bar chart in red, because they are meaning that somebody is not meeting their threshold, and your eyes immediately go there. That was what I was referring to when I was telling you to use the color consistency. Somebody who is even more keen-eyed will notice that the numbers don't match. The number of emails sent per employee pie chart, donut chart that we have there, shows that accidentally all of our employees have 46 emails. While the number of emails versus social media messages shows us that we have 1,200 emails. This is also made on purpose for today, but it can actually happen in real life. Before you are ready to present your dashboards and reports to whoever they are intended to, check with somebody or a team member to help you spot mistakes, to give you feedback whether they are understanding the dashboard. If they see something here, or they see, let's say, count of opportunity, and they're looking at it and they don't know what, and they're asking a question, what does this mean? It means that that card is not doing its job. Remember, the question should be clear without even being asked. And also the mistake that I made there. I have year over year, but in reality I have kept all the emails in the system. It means that I have made, and when you send that to your client, then they complain, you have a bug, and so on. With everything being done as it is, the last thing that is needed is to publish your report. This is how you get your report to the eyes of the people who need to make the decision. Publishing your report starts from, once again, Power BI desktop, and it goes into Power BI service. Remember, service is the place where they are hosted, shared, and refreshed from. Let me just once again press the video for whoever didn't catch it. You have the publish button there. I'm selecting the workspace. The workspace represents kind of a shared folder where all the reports live. And once there, I get the confirmation that my Power BI dashboard has been published. In Power BI service, I'm able to find that dashboard, and from here I can embed, share, and distribute into other applications. Everything that I showed here today was regarding the connection to Dataverse. However, I have also prepared an Excel file that if somebody of you wants to start building their first dashboard, they can contact me on the details below, the details here in order for me to send them. It's a very simple Excel file, and I believe you'll be able to do it. If not, I'm here for any questions. And in any other questions, regardless of what I just said about the Excel file, you're able to contact me on the methods below. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would kindly ask you also if you could give me feedback on the organization application that we have for today's conference. And now I'm willing to answer any and all questions that we have. I believe we have time for that. Yes? I use the Dataverse, as I said, because I've worked with the most with Dataverse. All my data that I had prepared was already there. But if I was to go back now on the presentation, you're able to see that, as I mentioned, Power BI supports natively many connectors to connect to. And on top of that, you can also build your own. If you have an API for an application where you can get the data from, yeah. Yeah. And that is, yeah. Yeah. To answer your last question, is there a way to get away from it? It's not a single solution. I have experienced it in the past also with Dataverse tables and other connections that I have, with the kilobytes limit that also are in place. But yeah, and to be honest, I use direct query for here in order to mention that it is near real time and you won't be needing to set up the manual or do the manual refresh and set up the scheduled refreshes. But until, what was it, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago from now, the direct query didn't even exist for Dataverse connector. You still had to import, as you said, the whole data and then work on top of that. That's why also it was even more important then to filter out the data in Power Query or prepare it before. It's still too much. Yeah, I know that the point and the pain that you're having, but it depends. Maybe I'll have to look on it or on the report itself. Probably Microsoft will have to step in at some point. But as I said, there's not a single solution that will help you solve it. And if you break it down, if you prepare it before, or if you utilize these days Fabric, you move your data first into some other place, you clean it, you prepare it, and like that you migrate it over just for the use in the Power BI, that will help you. But it means that you will have to do the preparation of the data steps somewhere else, as I mentioned. I referred to this already. You never start with a 100% clean data or pristine data in order to just load it all in and let's now start designing and be a designer. No, there's many steps before that until you reach to choose the colors and the position and you play with pixel perfect design. But very, very good points, and I like your questions very much. It's some of the challenges that are still facing. Hopefully they will get eliminated with each iteration, but the tool is being built, the customers are wanting it, Microsoft is selling it, we have to oblige. Thank you. How is Microsoft charging for Dataverse specifically, or? The truth is, whether you have your data in Dataverse or in BC, it depends on the licenses that you are paying there. In order to use the Power BI capabilities, and later on if you're talking about Fabric and so on, you will need licenses for Power BI. The workspaces also have different tiers of being available, because let me just quickly go here. There was something that I can't show you. It is here. And let me see if I can stop. That's why I also allowed a bigger portion of this to be on question and answers, because I've done similar presentation like this, and I know that there are still so many unknowns about Power BI, how it works and how it connects, and some of the pain points, and I'm willing to answer them, the ones that I know. The other ones, hopefully Copilot can help us. Where am I going? I'm going to publishing. Okay, so I'm clicking publish. Let me just stop the video here. As you can see, the workspaces that I mentioned, that they are like a collaborative folder. Think of it like that. You have a shared folder to work on them. They depend on the tier and the licenses there are. They could be premium workspace, or they can be normal ones. Also, you have the My Workspace. If you're building a report just for yourself and you want to also be able to access it from some other devices or something else, you could just be uploading there, no license, nothing. But for anything additional, you need a workspace, and that workspace depends also on the license and the subscription that you have. On top of that, you have the licenses for the user who is actually working and looking at those reports. They have, I believe, a Pro and a Premium tier license also for that. Thank you. I hope I have answered your question. Yes. To be honest, I had a hard time understanding because it's very far away. Can you speak a bit louder? No, the licenses apply to Power BI, and in order to have them built, deployed, and published, and then share, as you said, to your colleagues, to whoever, they still need to have a Power BI license. They may not, they don't work with Dataverse at all. Let's say, hypothetical scenario, you have only your managers, they're not interested about the field service worker, what are their work orders, which days, and so on. They are interested into just whether the demands and the SLAs are kept on overall on the whole team. They don't need a Dataverse or a Business Central or field service license. They only need license for Power BI in order to view the dashboard that you made for them or whoever made for them. It's not like you need the full suite of licenses just to be able to access and work with the dashboards. Okay. Any other questions? Well, in that case, once again, thank you for joining me. I would really appreciate your feedback and have a wonderful conversation. I hope to see you on the floor.